Good morning or good evening, everybody. My name is Gerald Chavez. I am the County Executive Director for McKinley County, is my main office here in Gallup, New Mexico. And I am doing shared management interim for the time being there in the Aztec County office for the San Juan portion of that. So, I've been doing it for a little over about a year and a month so far. So as far as I know, it's still my county. I do still have the burden of taking care of outreach, which is a big part of, our job skill. It's in our job description for us to do outreach as much as we can, as far as funding goes. If we're allowed to, then yes, we can do as much outreach as we can. And this was one of those things that we're doing today. I don't really have a presentation. I was just letting Mikkel know that, a lot of our facilities around all the counties in the whole nation, we're trying to streamline to do, we do have kiosks in all of our offices, so we're trying to streamline a lot of our information through the web. So, like a lot of people have smartphones and they've got laptops. So, we're trying to streamline a lot of that to, at the click of a button, you can go and find a fact sheet on livestock forage. You can go in and find a fact sheet about wool. You can find a fact sheet about basically anything that USDA has underneath USDA. There are other different agencies under that, like Mikkel was saying earlier, there's natural resources, there's RD, there's RMA, there's loan department. So there's different agencies under USDA besides just FSA. So I'm just going to share my screen and kind of just go over that with you guys, um, what that looks like. So if you, let me move this down. If you go to fsa.usda.gov, you can pretty much find any and everything about USDA. So you can click here, find your FSA location. If you click find a location, it'll take you here, find your local service center. So if we go to New Mexico here, a lot of counties do have a dedicated office. So if we go to McKinley here, it'll pop up and populate my information. So the Gallup Service Center, Farm Service Agency, our phone number, our physical address, our mailing address, and the main point of contact. Also, with that handy dandy thing, it'll also input the next kind of like a ripple effect. It'll go into the next county office. So here's Aztec Service Center for Natural Resources. There's their physical address. There's their mailing address, and that's their point of contact for the natural resources part would be Catherine Pritchett. Then, of course, there's another one, Crown Point Service Center. That's in Crown Point Agency. The point of contact there is also Catherine Pritchett. Then it kind of just goes from there. It kind of does like a ripple effect from where you're looking at. So if we go to San Juan, my name should also populate there. So there's my address, my phone number there, and then the point of contact for that. And it also does the same thing. So in that office in Aztec, it has a farm service agency, it has a natural resources, and it also has a rural development. Not every county office has a rural development or a loan department. So the majority of the time, it's only farm service agency and natural resources together. So that's just a cool thing that they kind of revamped this whole website, which is really nice. One thing I wanted to share was that if you go to the Tools tab and you click Informational, you can go to Fact Sheets. And then let's say you want to learn about Disaster Protection and Recovery for 2026. You click search. So these are all the running programs that we have right now for disaster associated programs. So, and if you put in, let's say, livestock forage, which is kind of our mainstream program that we always do every year, and that's centered around drought. Oh, I guess I could just put in livestock. Let's do that. It'll bring up and populate that fact sheet. So if I download it, it'll show everything and anything you need to know about livestock forage disaster. So this is one of our main programs. It's livestock forage disaster, but we call it our drought program. It's typically our main program that we have every single year. So the way that it works, another handy dandy tool I wanted to show with you is our national drought monitor. So if you put this, if you cut and paste this and put it in your toolbar, it'll bring up the drought monitor for the whole entire nation. And then it'll go and split it up by state. So as of right now, this is what we're looking at. So this is McKinley County here, and this is San Juan here. So it works in 5 different levels for the drought program. It goes from D0, D1, D2, D3, and D4. D4 being the highest rate of pay and D0 being the lowest rate of pay. So as of Thursday, May 7th, 2026, it's always updated every Thursday. This is what we're looking at right now. So it looks like McKinley's in a D2 severe drought and partially in a D3 extreme drought. So as long as that county triggers for that higher rate, so this here, this D3, as long as it stays in that D3 status for 8 consecutive weeks, that county will trigger for an automatic D3 payment for that program. So looks like San Juan's pretty much in the same category. As long as San Juan stays in a D3 extreme drought for 8 consecutive weeks, it'll automatically trigger that producer to get a D3 payment. So signups have slowly started to begun. With the whole shutdown, and they did the early resignation program and just sort of things that kind of got in the way of hindering us from being in the office. We're kind of slowly coming back, and a lot of our programs got pushed kind of further out. So we're starting our 2026 a lot later than we thought. At this time, we were starting into LFP at this time last year. Now we're barely starting to, our rates needed to come in for how much we were going to pay per head, per each type of livestock that you have on your farm. And we had to wait for those rates, and we also had to wait for the software to kick in. So until all of that is good and we get a letter from national office saying go ahead and start running out those drought payments applications, and then that's when we get the go ahead to do that. So we've slowly started to do that just recently. Of course, we're still starting to close out 2025 and picking up on 2026. So there's that program for LFP. All that information that you need is on there. The main point that I want to say about LFP is that you do have to own your land in some way, shape, or form. That meaning you have to have deeded property, you have to own the land, your name has to be legally leased on the land, you have to have a grazing permit with your name on it, can't be grandma's name, can't be cousin's name, brother's name. But you do have, let's say there's 2 people on that grazing permit, both of you do have equal rights to utilize that grazing permit. So if you do have a tribal ranch lease or a Navajo Nation grazing permit or a Zuni permit or a Rema Navajo permit, you need to provide a annual livestock tally count of what you have according to what you're allowed. So the way that it works is it pays what your land can take care of. So if your land can only take care of 20 cows and you have 40, we're only going to pay you that 20 on that because it depends on how much the land can handle, not depending on how much types of livestock you have. So that program is kind of one of our main programs that we have every year. A lot of producers, depend on this funding um, for anything. We tell them you can use it for, we recommend you to use it for your farm. We recommend it to use it for your ranching. If you need to fix up a fence or you need to buy I don't know, a water trough or some water hauling buckets or something. We just try to encourage them to use it for their farm because this is what the help is for. Um, Majority of the time, it's centered around their livestock and to help them in their disaster event. So there's that program. The other program that I would like to talk about is our Emergency Assistance for Livestock, Honeybees, and Farm-Raised Fish Program, known as ELAP, for a smaller acronym. It's called ELAP. So this program is our so we're not really gonna worry about the honeybees and farm-raised fish portion of it. We're gonna worry about the assistance for livestock. So inside this program, we have three different elements. So in that element, it's gonna be water hauling, feed transportation, and livestock transportation. So the eligible livestock, of course, is going to be anything that is not, you know, considered a baby. So no lambs, no baby calves. So anything that's weaned and that is not considered an adult. So those are the types of livestock that we accept. So the adverse weather portion of this is usually these here, blizzard, typically the trigger for this. So the rule is if LFP triggers for the drought, automatically Emergency Livestock Assistance Program triggers. So once that program triggers, they kind of just coincide with each other. The eligible loss typically for ELAP is going to be drought. So inside of this element, there's going to be feed transportation. So the way that that program works is, let's say you're normal for 2025, you didn't have to haul any feed at all for your livestock. You had good stock, you had good grazing for that year. So in 2026, it's a lot drier. We didn't get no rain. We hardly got any snow that lasted us through the winter time that would have helped keep those water levels higher for us. So it would have given us some grazing and potentially some water for our earth dams and our dirt ponds. Because of that, you had to haul more feed. Let's say that you drove from, I live in Thoreau, say I had to drive from Thoreau up to Nappy at least 5 times this year in 2026. So what it does is it versus what your normal is. So your normal for 2025 was 0, and then your normal for 2026 is 5. So it pays you, they kind of like uh, subtract each other out. So we would pay you the 5 additional hauls that you had to haul for 2026. We do ask that those producers that apply for that program, they provide feed hauling receipts. if you had a haul, let's say you had one in 25 and you had four in 26, you'd have to provide that one for 25 and then the four for 26. So they would also subtract each other out. One minus four is three. So we'd pay you the three loaded miles back to your farm. So we don't pay you to go up there to Nappy, Cortez, El Paso, wherever you go to get your feed. We don't pay you to go over there to go pick it up, but we pay you to bring it back. So that's one of the elements inside that program. There's also livestock transportation. So let's say that you do have like a huge pasture. So you have like, let's say you have all your summer cows 50 miles away, and then you have all your winter cows on a different area, another 60 miles away. So whatever those loaded miles for your livestock, it pays you on that as well. Then the last element is going to be the water hauling. So water hauling is a very tedious program. So you have to be hauling water due to drought. You cannot be hauling water. If you've been hauling water, the time span of you having the grazing permit or, the forest permit or the tribal lease, the BLM, if you've been hauling water and that's how you normally do it, that's called what we say is practice management. In our policy and procedure, it does say that you have to have adequate sources of water for your livestock at all times, regardless if there's any natural disaster. So regardless if there's a volcano or a hurricane or a tornado or if there's drought, you have adequate sources for those livestock to go and, drink from. So you do have to provide a water hauling log. That water hauling log can just be we like to tell our producers to put them on a calendar because you can write in the little box on the calendar. So we like to ask the producer, how many miles do you go there and back? Let's say you go 7 miles there, 7 miles back. You'd write 14 miles. How much gallons do you have? Oh, I get 500 gallons. How many times do you go per week? If I need to, I'll go twice a week. If I don't need to, I'll just go once. So you'd write that all down, document it. You'd bring us a copy of it. We'll make a copy. And then you have to provide evidence of you hauling that water and your sources drying out. So I recommend that you provide two photos of your livestock, two photos of your land, and two photos of any and all equipment that you use. That can be barrels, hoses. If it's loaded up in the back of your truck, you can take a picture of that. The last thing you're going to provide is going to be your source of water drying out. Let's say your source was usually you have an earth dam, it catches water, or you have a dry pond, it usually catches water. Because of the drought, we haven't gotten much rain. Like I said, last year we didn't really get much snow. So you're having to haul and it's only getting drier in 2026. So you'd have to provide those types of evidence to our offices once you fill out your application for that program. So those are like the three elements inside of ELAP. Um, there's that program. And then one other big one that we have is going to be our, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, put it in. There it is. Non-insured crop disaster assistance program, otherwise known as NAP. So this is that program. So this is, we like to call it FSA's own insurance for their farmers and ranchers. It's not necessarily an insurance coverage. It's just an extra coverage that FSA offers to their farmers and ranchers. So, of course, to be an eligible producer, you have to own the land in some way, shape, or form, leased, deeded, permitted, any way, shape, or form. So, the eligible causes of losses, of course, is going to be any natural disaster, freeze, hail, excessive moisture. Typically in New Mexico, honed in on McKinley, it's probably going to be drought. If drought negatively affects your farm, we pay up to 50 over 50% or more of losses that you had to pay out of pocket. So the way that it works is it starts from calendar day one. So it has to start from January 1st. So January 1st to calendar day end December 31st of that given year, you have to fill out an application and you have to do an acreage report for that year. Acreage report filing is always due by July 15th of every single year. After that date, it's considered late. So you have to pay a $31 late fee in order to get that acreage report done. Any and all native grasses in McKinley County, everything's under native grasses. So anything before July 15th is considered on target, not past the deadline. So anything after that, you'd have to pay that $31 late fee. Um, NAP is a socially disadvantaged program. So that means if you are considered SDA, you're considered a minority, you're considered a veteran farmer, you're considered a limited income source farmer rancher, or you're a beginning farmer rancher, you get that fee waived of $325. So that's a good thing just to have. It's free to sign up. You don't have to pay anything. You just let us know, hey, I want to sign up for NAP, and we sign you up for that year. So 2026 has closed since December 31st of 2025. So the deadline for every year to sign up for the following year, so current year for 2026 is open. The deadline to sign up for 2026 coverage is going to be December 31st of 2026. So that's jump starts your start date to start on the day of January 1st, 2027. That has to run from all the way until December 31st, 2027. If we meet over that 50 percentile, so the 50 percentile means that um, we cover anything over that 50% loss. So what we do as FSA, basically majority of the time it's the county executive director. We get the loss percentages from a source, a viable source. So we ask Natural Resource Conservation Services, NRCS, and also majority of the time it's going to be NMSU Extension. They give us a certain percentage of loss that they feel that we fell under for that particular county. So we reach out to them at least by, I want to say November. I usually reach out to them by November. They'll hopefully try to get it to me by December. And then I already have my losses. I take those losses. If I get two from NMSU and from NRCS, if I get one each, I take it to my county committee. My county committee then takes it into consideration. Let's say that NMSU says that we went under a 65 percentile, and then let's say NRCS says it's 70. We kind of just meet in the middle. We feel like it was on the higher end, so let's go with 70. So that recommendation through my county committee goes to state committee. State committee then agrees with us, or they can say, well, it was a little bit higher. We feel like we should go with 80%. So between 50 and 80, that's 30%. We pay all those people under that, over that 50%, between 50 and 100, we pay them that extra 30% loss. So you wouldn't possibly see that loss until January or February of 2028. So that's kind of how the program works. You do have to just sign up. The end of each year pretty much is kind of your deadline. So as long as you're coming in before the end of the month in December to sign up for coverage for the following year, you're good to go. Then we do everything after that. We have you come in before the end of the year to do your notice of loss and then your application for coverage. And then it's kind of just the county office does all the work for you. There's no guarantee that there's going to be a loss. Since I've been here for the past 6 years, McKinley County has always had a loss. We even had a 1% loss 2 years ago. So anything over that 50%, they automatically get that payment. And then San Juan is just finally getting one this year. I'm surprised that they didn't get one for over the past couple of years. So they're finally getting a loss percentage over 50% for San Juan. So there's that program. And then the last one is probably going to be the loan deficiency program. So let's go to that. Mhm. I think it's called something else. Let me find it. There we go. So it's called Loan Deficiency Program, but it is a marketing assistant loans and loan deficiency payments. So what it means is just basically verbatim that the crops that you produce or any commodity that you produce on your farm, it that money kind of goes back into the farm. This is an older one. The newer one hasn't been uploaded yet. I want to say that the non-graded wool is at 51 cents per pound. So this is the only program that doesn't require you to have ownership of the land. So this is just because wool is a commodity, it can be gifted to you. You can pick it off of a fence if somebody's shearing. Um, if somebody doesn't want it, they want to use it for weaving or something like that, and they have extra and they want to give it to you, and they tell you, oh, you can sell it over there. Then you can do that. So this one's the only one that doesn't require you to have a grazing permit. All you need to do is from a viable company, you have to have it weighed. It has to be weighed, and that ticket that you get to have it weighed, it needs to be signed and brought in, and you have to fill out page one of the application before you sell it. So you do the first page first, and then typically somebody would come into the office, pick up a page one. Hey, I'm interested in selling over at, I think the only place I know right now that's buying is Cowtown. I'm gonna go sell over at Cowtown, and I have I don't know, 50 pounds of wool. I'm gonna go take in. Can I get an application for the wool? So they'll come by here, they can pick up a page one, come bring the receipt back after they have it weighed, and then we can do the application from there. So as of right now, we've had a couple of people come in with a wool receipt and a wool application here and there, but not as busy as it was last year when we had it with Navajo Nation when we were up in Shiprock and over in Winter Rock for those two events. So those are kind of our main programs that we have um, that we typically normally see day in, day out from FSA point of view. Um, and yeah, uh, I guess that's about it. If you do call our offices, we can revert you to the right person if you do want to get in touch with like rural development or the district loan officers for the farm loan program side. Um, we can revert you to whoever you need to. We're not just somebody that's like, oh, we're just FSA. Bye. We're not just gonna hang up on you. We're always gonna, try to help you the best we can with what we can. So I guess that kind of concludes my program information. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know, or we can ask them now if need be.
All right. We deliver in-person workshops and webinars that are tailored to producers' needs based on the feedback that we gather from each of our webinars, whether it's the polls that we release and as well as our evaluations that we give out at the end of our workshops or joining workshops that we collaborate with our following partners and we get that feedback, and that feedback is basically tailored to how our platform, educational platform, is going to look like for each month. And so this was actually brought upon us in evaluations, couple evaluations from a sheep shearing that we joined together with Dene College Land Grant Office that they want to hear more about FSA involvement and how it can incorporate into their production. This was a sheep aspect side of educational workshop, so I'm not sure exactly how that could be tailored with FSA programs. So I'll just go ahead and leave that to Gerald. And not only do we do that, but provide webinars and such, but we do also provide in-person workshops. Lately, we did partner with the Nick College Land Grant with the sheep shearing workshop that we did last month. We did also have a really busy April, but in that month, we did have the Navajo Rangeland, Sustaining Rangeland workshop that explains what type of invasive plants there are in our area, how to calculate your own carrying capacity and such. And we did have some record keeping workshops that we provided. We did have lambing type of management that we provided as well. So April was definitely a busy month, just as a lot of folks are experiencing some lambing, experiencing some calving. So definitely there's some educational assistance in that area that everyone as a farmer, everyone as a rancher, sheep producer, we all are, learning something. And so our project is funded by the USDA and Outreach and Assistance for Native Farmers and Ranchers and Veteran Farmers and Ranchers program. So we wouldn't have done this type of outreach if it weren't for this project that is funding for us. Next. Okay, well, so we're dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties, so I do have another slide here that I'm looking down on. So another essential goal of ours is help increase producers' knowledge in USDA outreach, USDA programs. So many of you are familiar with NRCS and FSA programs such as for drought loss assistance, crop disaster assistance. So through our virtual fair like this, we do have our local field offices, folks to partake into our USDA resource series and just share what type of local programs that they offer for their own local producers. And not only that, but we're also proud to offer our conservation planning program that we have been in collaboration in the beginning with the Nick College Land Grant Office. So our project resource specialist, Ms. Shirley Toth, and several of our resource technicians work with ranchers and farmers through Eastern and Northern Navajo agencies and helping ranchers and farmers one-on-one to provide a basic conservation plan. Not only that, but we also provide CP workshop assistance with a collaboration with Nick College as well. And sometimes we're just out there ourselves as the ANISAIC collaborators, and we provide that type of assistance. Lastly, we focused on local fresh food production in the areas that we serve, McKinley County, San Juan, and Cibola counties. With our gardening projects, we've been collaborating with experts from COPE. Some of you may have known Carol Palmer, who is from COPE. She's no stranger to our webinar series, and so she has a lot of creativity in her presentations on how to use certain things that's already around your home or your farm to implement low cost in making and developing a garden of your own. As well as NMSU CES specialist. We do have Miss Dr. Walker, who is our garden specialist from out from New Mexico State. She's a great person to talk about a lot about gardening, how to prepare beforehand, how to make some drip irrigations for your raised beds and such. And as well as the Nick College Land Grant, they're pretty helpful as well. Overall, we're happy to share more in-person workshops, but I'll go ahead and share more of that towards the end. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and conclude our introduction for now and have the floor